Hello everyone, I'm Sheridan Plummer of First National Bank and welcome to First National Banknotes. Today we feature part 2 of our Stanley French Education Forum. In this part we'll hear from our very own business owners, CEOs and professionals on the topic with a very informative exchange between themselves and presenter Stephen Phillips.
You guys are really inspiring me that, we need to work very closely with the communities to ensure that the messages are right and people are understanding what the ECCB is doing and how this potentially has implications.
Stay tuned for the details in this edition of First National Banknotes.
There is no better symbol of independence than your very own vehicle. With First Wheels from First National Bank, we offer a very competitive interest rate with rapid approval and 100% financing on new vehicles. Enter your state of independence with a First Wheels vehicle loan from First National Bank. First National Bank, here for you.
Welcome back. We have lots of questions and answers, so without further ado, let's go back into the conference room and see who strikes the first match.
Morning. Thanks. Very informative presentation. Actually, I came here thinking we would explain cryptocurrency, and I realized we're moving away from that. However, there's one thing I'd like you to expound on for me, and I guess for the rest of the people here, the concept of a regulatory sandbox.
Yes, so a regulatory sandbox is a framework where it's kind of a safe space where consumer protection is foremost. It allows regulators to facilitate innovation in a safe space. So we're not saying that we don't want innovation, but we recognize that there are risks with innovation. So a sandbox allows regulators to create a framework where companies can come in and test and develop new solutions, but in a way that facilitates consumer protection. We don't want to have companies coming in and testing things and consumers end up being hurt.
I wanted to ask for the digital currency. I like the initiative, but for businesses in St. Lucia and then you look at the Eastern Caribbean, in terms of that, we normally have like a cash-based system, and what is it that businesses need to get to actually start to use this digital currency so we could actually see transactions going through?
Again, part of the initiative here is, well, let me start by saying this is at this stage, it's a pilot test. So there are limited seats, it's not a full rollout, so to speak. So that's the context we're in today. However, we do recognize that there are longer term goals, but we need to clear this hurdle first. So what does a business need to get? So in line with the financial inclusion, it's relatively easy to participate. You go to the App Store, you download the app, you verify your identity, and you're ready to participate. It's meant to be very inclusive. However, in order to meet the regulations, we need to know the identity of all parties.
Morning. Gilden Augustine, Managing Director of Island Tech and an Executive Member of the ICT Association of St. Lucia. Recently had a webinar,
Yes.
CCU, and we had a few questions answered, but in light of what happened recently, especially with PayPal and Visa and MasterCard exiting the Libra consortium, how does that affect the trust issue with CCU, the XCD? Also, foreign exchange transactions included on that platform, or it's only going to be DXCD, or especially our members who transact not only C dollars but also in US and other currencies. Just on the side, why hasn't the Barbados dollar been digitized as yet? A bit curious. And in light of the commercial banks potentially losing revenue in fees, is there buy-in, total buy-in from all the members who are currently issuing physical EC dollars.
All right, so the first question was on Libra, and we saw the announcement, I think it was last night or yesterday, that some of the partners are pulling out. So first off, I want to say that Libra has been really good in motivating central banks to work towards issuing their own digital currencies. It poses a huge threat. I think it was Bank of England that recently recognized it as a systemic risk to their economies as well. You don't want a private company having large numbers of payments in the economy, because that becomes a systemic risk. So regarding those entities pulling out of the Libra Association, there really is no implication. It doesn't affect what the ECCB is doing in any real way. They were not a part of the association or anything like that. That's an initiative by a private entity on a global scale. What the ECCB is looking to do is focus solely on the Eastern Caribbean dollar and the economies of the Eastern Caribbean. So I'll move on to the next one. You asked about US dollars being able to transact different currencies, etc. So again, the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank is the authority for the Eastern Caribbean dollar. And this network will only focus on the digital version of the Eastern Caribbean dollar. So that will allow banks, etc., all the various means of accessing US, etc., will continue as they are.
They'll continue making their money off.
Yeah, of course. We need banks, and you'll hear more about that when I come to that question. Why no digital Barbados dollar? So funny enough, in 2016, BIT actually got noticed on the international scale by being one of the first, if not the first, company to digitize a dollar on the blockchain. This was back. We did this on the Bitcoin protocol, on a layer above Bitcoin, where we were able to create a one-to-one parity with digital Barbados dollars that we issued, and that's what really got us noticed and helped to propel us to where we are today. Commercial banks, you're interested in loss of revenue and participation. So again, I kind of touched on this. Commercial banks play a critical role. Remember, this currency, DXCD, is a digital version of cash. We will always need commercial banks for creating credit. You can't get rid of commercial banks. They help the economies to grow by offering credit. With regards to the loss of revenue, it's an interesting question, because we do see that a dollar saved is a dollar earned, and they will be saving a lot with not having to deal with as much cash, as well as they still have their existing revenue streams remain intact, and potentially new revenue streams where they can offer custodian services. So rather than a user taking on the responsibility to manage their DXCD, they can have their financial institution take on that responsibility, and they just leverage them to manage their DXCD on their behalf. Kind of like how you use your mobile banking today. You log in, you see your balance, but the money isn't actually on your phone, right? So there are opportunities for the commercial banks, and part of the pilot test is to understand the various revenue models, understand the fee structures, and be able to work collaboratively to deliver on that transformation that the ECCB is looking for.
In terms of the currency, I understand there are security features, but I wanted to know, in case somebody actually gets access to your app and then within like a second you say a money transaction could go through, is there any systems in place for a reversal of transaction? For example, if somebody sends it to the wrong account, or if somebody gets access to my app by some reason of either knowing my username, password, or breaking through a security measure, is there any way to reverse a transaction?
Okay. So there are no reversals on blockchain. once the transaction is committed, it's there for good. It's immutable. You can't change it. So in that case, we would have to have the counterparty make another transfer to resolve the issue, so to speak. Regarding the security, yes, security is paramount, and we will be doing lots of education and providing the tools. I mentioned multi-factor authentication. So if someone has your phone and they get your username and password, there's another authentication method that they would need to have as well in order to transact on your behalf. So security is important, and we will be educating the public as part of our initiative to tell them about keeping their phones secure, not giving out password, that kind of stuff. You know, the same kind of education you see around using ATMs today. Keep your PIN safe, hide your PIN when you're using it, that kind of stuff. I mean, at the end of the day, nothing is foolproof. But we do need to educate, and that is going to be a big part of it.
You're watching First National Banknotes. When we come back, more questions and answers at the First National Bank 2019 Stanley French Education Forum. Next.
Born from the same soil, growing stronger.
Raised of our own sweat and toil, doing it together.
Our bank for you and me,
Taking us forward so proudly. First National Bank, the best of who we are. First National Bank, together we'll go far.
the pride of St. Lucia, here to stay.
Growing up, growing stronger, it's a First National way.
Every day we're making better, faster and smarter, convenience like no other.
First National Bank, the best of who we are. First National Bank, together we'll go far. For decades every day, it's clear, it's true. First National Bank, we're here for you.
Good morning. As an innovator myself who's actually looking to create e-wallet via mobile app, will I be able to further integrate the new DXCD technology with my app?
Yes, so the short answer is yes. We want to facilitate innovation. That was one of the things on the slides. The ECCB wants to hit that growth target, and we can only do that collaboratively. You know, the young minds in the room, they have all kinds of ideas for doing things better and faster. So the idea is the ECCB provides this secure infrastructure that entities like yourselves can participate, build apps, and solve problems that, you know, are much better than what we have today, the solutions we have today. So the short answer is basically yes, you will be able to integrate.
My question is about the sample, because obviously you're testing and trying to debug the system, and I'm interested in the profile. Is it banks, is it businesses, is it persons, is it a combination thereof? My other question is to the bank, and we have First National here, and I don't know if they can answer it. So I'm a vendor selling my coconuts out of the van by the roundabout by Massey Mega. So obviously I opened the account at Shock, and I want to go digital. I've downloaded the app. What else? Do I need to come in again with 2 IDs and a water bill? I mean, how do we make the connection between the app and my bank account? Because I found the answer to the question still left me wondering. That answer did not, and for me, that answer did not answer the question. So I'm breaking it down. I am a vendor with the van by Massey. My account is at Shock. I've downloaded the app. How am I making the connection to my account through my phone so that I can do my business? Thank you.
Regarding the ecosystem, so again, we will have all players in the ecosystem. We will have financial institutions made up of banks, but then we also have non-bank institutions participating. We will have merchants and we will have consumers. So we are looking at building out a robust ecosystem that potentially can mirror what a commercial deployment would look like. So we want to test in as close as possible a real life scenario should this actually go live. So we will have all the players within the pilot. Now, on just touching briefly on that point, we are also contemplating for DXCD, individuals who have bank accounts will be able to access their deposits for conversion to digital dollars via secure messaging. So you won't have that friction. You can stay at home, you can log into your online banking app, and you can send them a secure messaging for converting to digital dollars that you can spend on your wallet.
My question is, you were selling this as this is a tourist destination and, you know, we need it for the tourists. How are you going to authenticate somebody from God knows where, coming here on holiday, who wants to sign up for your app and have, I'm going to get the language wrong, virtual EC dollars in his virtual wallet? How is that going to be managed? And if it can't be managed, how is this an advantage for tourism? Thank you.
Thank you. Wow. Okay. So you raised a lot of very important points, so I need to take this seriously. Regarding the comment on tourism, so maybe I was misleading, but my whole thought process around drawing home the conversation about tourism is to bring it to the fore that digital payments are a growing trend, and it forms expectations in the minds of the tourists. You know, they are accustomed using their cards and mobile payments, so when they come to a destination, that's kind of what they're comfortable with. So, you know, my comments on that were just to help us to recognize that we also need to advance. We also need to innovate and to take those steps as well.
My next question is to you on Forex. I know you stated persons who transact in the US or whatnot, but Forex in the form as person who trade online, how can this digital currency, would your platforms allow for persons like myself who trade online to use digital EC and trade online with that?
So with regards to your question about foreign exchange and trading, this is what the future holds. We're not there today. We need to get this foundation in place and get this right. But a part of the vision for BIT is to create a Caribbean settlement network, which would allow settlement between different currencies. So what I'm saying in a nutshell is that in the next maybe 3 to 5 years, you will see some movement here. However, we need to digitize the actual currencies first. Good morning.
My name is Kirk Elliott, and I'm generally interested in things digital. I would like to say thank you, as others have echoed. It has been very informative, very enlightening, very encouraging. I would like to refer to one of the slides that I think, Stephen, you had up earlier. And if I can just read, it said, or rather it asked, why does central bank issue digital currency matter? And actually it was a question that I had scribbled in a different form earlier, and you also alluded to some of the reasons why. Some of them are going to be tremendous cost savings,
yes,
both for central banks as well as Caribbean banks.
Right.
Because there's the cost of creating currency, all of the security that goes into it, both in terms of the currency itself and also in terms of the movement of that cash.
Logistics, yeah.
Right. You also have, like you alluded to, the cost of local banks in terms of handling that cash, deposits, etc. I'm looking at it from my standpoint now as a customer. Does this digital currency include a mechanism to share some of those cost benefits with us, the customers? Probably in the form of credits back onto, so for every dollar you spend, you get a percentage back as cash back. Always looking out for our interests. Yeah.
I'm actually going to steal that idea.
Permission to steal, but please give me the credit. Yeah. I also want to say that on that note, I think that if the central bank went down that road, it would really, really, really lead to adoption. Because for the first time, we would be feeling as customers like we are co-participants with the banks. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much.
Good morning, everyone.
Good
I'd like to
morning.
say thanks for the presentation. Thanks to First National Bank for allowing the public to enjoy this opportunity of learning. I have a couple questions. Firstly, with regards to our local banks, and I say local, meaning First National Bank, Bank of St. Lucia for the most part, would you encourage those local banks to collaborate when it pertains to investing in the fintech required to support such a system, as opposed to the international banks that have their parent companies who would benefit from, economies of scale that they would have passing down to them? What approach would you give to our local banks in terms of managing the huge investments required to support such a system?
Thank you for that. Another good question. So the first part of it was around the local banks and the investment in fintech. And yes, it can be a large investment, but I think it's a prudent investment given the need to save cost and to adapt to meet the needs of younger generations. People want to be able to open accounts remotely. They want services remotely, and this is a trend we see in first world countries where you can open a bank account in minutes online. You don't have to go into the bank. These are the kinds of services that technology facilitates today. And I know that some of the local banks are already investigating these types of technologies. So I would say that yes, the investment can be high. The technology, can mean that there's a need for an investment. But when you look at the longer term return, it can also be significantly higher. So when we also look at AML, CFT, KYC, so know your customer requirements, anti-money laundering, and combating the financing of terrorism, we see that technology can play a very key role in reducing costs there. So in a nutshell, I think that banks need to do more to investigate technologies, investigate solutions to help reduce their costs and potentially pass on that cost saving to the customers.
Unfortunately, we've now come to the end of this week's episode of First National Banknotes. Did you ever think you'd come to see the day where cash could be replaced by digital currency on an app from your cell phone? This was a very interesting topic. Special thanks to all those who attended the forum or tuned in via the program. Don't forget, we're open every Saturday from 8 a.m. to 12 noon at our various locations. You could view this show again right here every Wednesday on HTS at 8 p.m. or go online at www.firstnationalbankonline.com. Hope you enjoyed it. I'm Sheridan Plummer. See you next time. And remember, First National Bank, here for you.